What's good happening, you guys? Welcome to the Art Galam podcast show. In today's episode, we would be hearing it from Shantanu Jain. He is a chartered accountant with All India rank 10 and also one among the few iconic CA mentor at Unacademy. Not only this, but he was also one of the early members of Swiggy's in-house startup workforce. And also, he is the founder of Readon. It was really a brilliant conversation and I hope you guys would get good insights from him. Do use the timestamp given below and also check out my other podcast given in the iCard and also in the descriptions. So grab on your earphones and let's get into the video. Welcome to the show, sir. It's good to have you on the show. First of all, please introduce yourself to the listeners, sir.
Sure, Lokesh. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
I am Shantanu Jain, and I am a chartered accountant by profession, and a passionate writer, a social entrepreneur. Currently, I am leading Readon, which is a social enterprise aimed at making India financially literate. What we do is simplify the world of business and finance into easily digestible content, which our users can consume, learn from, and helps spread financial awareness and thereby financial literacy. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. And I'm from a normal middle class family living in Calcutta. My family is also based out of Calcutta. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, sir. Nice. So, can you take me through the journey of Readon, how it started, and what is Readon, so that the listeners can know more about it?
Sure. So basically, Readon started as a pet project of mine, a side project of mine, where while I was working with Swiggy, um, I started writing a bit about what was happening in the financial markets, what was happening in the world of economics, policy, etc. And I was trying to do that in a way which I would want to read, right? Whenever you read a newspaper, there are 2 to 3 problems that I find in reading newspaper. Number one, you don't get context about whatever is written. It's then and there, as on that date. It's not about building a context, building a story. Number two, they use so many jargons. They make it so difficult to understand. I mean, why would you do that if you have a mass audience? Just simplify stuff, right? Why do you have to use heavy words? Use simple plain English. So that was one. And number three, it's so boring. I mean, it's just black and white or black and orange, right? There are no colors there. There are no pictures there, animation there, animation there, right? So I thought, why not combine all of these and create something that would be appealing to read also. One thing that I also realized was when I was a student, I would want to be in touch with whatever is happening in the economy, in the markets, etc. You get a lot of apps to do that. You get those notifications, etc. Right? But I would also want to read at least one piece that would give me some insights, right, into whatever is happening in the world of financial markets, etc. Say, for example, Infosys is coming up with a buyback. Why a buyback? Why not a dividend? Why not something else, right? All of these questions would come in my mind, and I would have to search for it in 2 to 3 different places. So we tried and created a whole story out of it, contextualize it, and give it to the reader, including all of the questions that we can think of that they would want to know about. So that's the whole philosophy. The Readon, the name itself, read on, implies keep reading. That is, develop a habit of doing this. Even if you're reading one every day, that's a habit, right? You get into that habit of reading at least one thing every day. So it's just to induce that habit. So that's how Readon started, with me doing a bunch of stuff, people liking it, and then creating a whole organization around it.
Yeah. So actually, I feel that in recent years, after this geo revolution and all, the short form of content, either it will be a readable or it will be a watchable content, it has come to the game because more people are like engaging to that 30 seconds reels or shorts, and also this readables also. I think in shorts also have that 60 words news thing.
Right.
So do you think this change has happened because of geo revolution, or it's the mental capacity of people to know many things in simple language and in a quick time also? What do you think, sir?
I think a lot of products that have come in, right, like in shorts, those are
Yeah.
hyper short content that talks about whatever is happening in the world real time,
Yeah.
right? We don't do real time stuff. So all of the news channels or all of the news media platforms or social media platforms, whoever are creating content, they are creating content to leverage on that habit that has been built of consumers for instant gratification. And obviously that has come because of deeper penetration of the internet, which is because of the geo effect, right? Data becoming much cheaper than it earlier was per GB of data. So that has obviously had a role to play. But the type of content that the other players are doing, that is also relevant. I'm not saying that they are doing bad content. That is also relevant. But that is more towards instant gratification. Our content is more towards delayed but deep satisfaction.
Okay. Informative sort of.
Correct. So creating longer stuff but informative.
Yes.
You might see us also doing 60-word simply explained news on the social media channels in the days to come. But the core objective will still be to make it very digestible and not play on the instant gratification bit, but to play on the delayed gratification yet higher satisfaction bit.
Yes. So I have personally subscribed to your read on, and it's through WhatsApp. So its main communication between the company and the user is through WhatsApp. What's your take on the WhatsApp, sir? Because it has launched WhatsApp Business in India, and I think WhatsApp payment is also there. But so what's your take on WhatsApp Business and the future because I think until now many companies are using WhatsApp Business for a customer service segment only, but your main touch point with the clients are itself with WhatsApp Business. So what's your take on it and how it can change the game entirely?
Got it. So it was not a very kind of strategized decision to be on WhatsApp, to have a WhatsApp newsletter. My whole contention of doing it on WhatsApp was that I wanted feedback from the users instantly. Whatever the reader has read, I want to know how did they find it, how did they like it, so that I can improve, right? And this was in the initial few days when we started. We only had 100 or 200 folks on our WhatsApp newsletter, right? And I would interact with them, I would nudge them, I would ask them, okay, did you like this, okay, did you not like this? And we thought we would just keep it that way. But what we started realizing was that now our users feel a connect to us, right?
Yes.
They feel like they can talk to me or Yavantika or somebody from the team directly on that WhatsApp number. They do share their own feedback, their thoughts, their questions that they have, any follow-on questions, and we make sure to answer all of those questions. It's like we are kind of a mentor teacher to them when it comes to financial markets, and just helping them understand that we are available for them. I think that has helped us in creating the kind of loyalty that you see in terms of our membership, and the kind of, in fact, even if I am I have hubris enough to call it that way, the love that they show us, right? The fanaticism that they show us, that's absolutely mind-boggling. I never imagined that people would appreciate what we do so much. So that's really humbling.
So I want to ask you that why one news per day? Because do you think that all social media is cluttered with lots of news? Maybe some news are real, some news are fake. Because after this internet and all, many fake news and things are happening. Why one news a day?
Absolutely on point. Even if you go to our LinkedIn handle today, you will find the tagline there to be decluttering news from noise in business and finance. Right? So the entire idea is to make the space less noisy but more informative. So that when a reader reads something, right, there will be 2 to 3 concepts within that one write-up that we do. But you won't feel like you've read some different concepts. You'll feel it's very light, that somebody is just talking to you generally, just having a conversation with you. That's why we keep that conversational style of writing as well. We just want to send across a point in the easiest manner possible. Not to show off our English speaking skills or English writing skills, not to use
Yeah.
very heavy words.
Yes. Yeah.
It does not matter. At the end of the day, communication is absolutely, fruitful when the other person understands what you're trying to say.
Yeah, obviously.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's failed, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely, decluttering news from noise is one of the core reasons why we do only one news. Plus, there are operational bottlenecks to do more than one in a day, right?
Yeah.
So we are bootstrapped. We haven't raised any money.
Yeah.
It completely comes out of my and Yavantika's pockets. She's my co-founder, and so operationally, you understand, right? A bootstrapped
Yes, sir.
company has to operate within certain limitations, but hopefully we can do 2 news as well in a day. But right now we are happy with that one news, and our
One
readers
news.
are happy with that one news. So it works.
So, how did you guys meet, sir? You and your co-founder Avantika. What's the story behind?
Sure. So Yavantika and me were in college together,
Okay.
and we were also doing CA.
Yeah.
So I'm a chartered accountant. She's also a chartered accountant. And if you asked anybody in college at that point in time, I am from St. Xavier's.
Okay.
In the morning batch, you would have heard of Shantanu Jain, who loves reading books, and you would have heard of Yavantika Malani, who loves reading books.
Okay.
So I thought, who's this person in the evening batch who absolutely loves reading, etc. And I talked to her, and we launched a venture in college where we enabled on-demand delivery of books, novels, fiction, non-fiction novels.
Okay.
Why did we do that? Because our library had shifted from the main building to a building that was a kilometer away. So nobody was going to the library to get those books. So we started with an on-demand library kind of a thing, and it was a members exclusive revenue first model, unlike Read On today, which is a user first model, not a revenue first model. It was a revenue first, subscriber first model. And I think that is where we realize that we work really well together. That we understand and we complement each other's skills as well. If I am thinking strategy, she is doing execution. If on some aspects she is doing strategy, I am good at executing stuff. So that was always there. And when I started writing also, I was thinking about who can step in and write even better than do a better job than I am doing right now. And there was only one name that came to my mind. And I asked her that, hey, would you be interested? We did something back in college. Would you be interested again in taking the plunge and doing something? She said, why not?
Okay. Nice.
That's how it
So, many people speak about their co-founders and their bonding and relationship. Do you guys have some tussles between you upon a strategy or upon anything like?
Absolutely. We fight like crazy. And I think so there have been a lot of different types of fights with a lot of different types of people within the team. So we have a bunch of interns who also work with us, a lot of other permanent members on the team, the founding members, who maybe do not have equity in the company, but they are as invested as anybody else can be. Sometimes with some people, the fights are around how should we do things, etc., right? But that user focus is not there. That obsession about our reader is not there. Whenever me and Yavantika are having a fight, it's because we think very differently about something that the reader wants.
Okay.
So it's always around that reader, which is something that I'm super proud of. It's never about two people or this should be dominating or that should be dominating. It's always about, yeah, ये user के लिए सही नहीं है, ये user के लिए सही है. So that is where the debate lies. So absolutely, if somebody tells you that co-founders don't fight, they fight the most, and they should on the things that matter, right? Otherwise, without debate, you can't have a good solution, right? You can't have yes man or yes sir or yes ma'am while people in that organization. Even our interns fight.
Okay. Oh.
Not just us, even our interns fight with us. No, we don't think this should be the way. I think this is how we should go ahead. And if we see merit enough in that, and it has happened a lot of times when they've come up with brilliant ideas, tell them okay, proof that idea out, make it very, very solid, show us some data backing that, and let's experiment. Sometimes we don't have that data also. So if you'll see on our Instagram, you'll see one video that has 441,000 views. That was pure an experiment. We don't do those videos. You'll see that video standing out. We never do that kind of a video, and that has the maximum views today because we just love experimenting. I mean, if you tell me to experiment something tomorrow, maybe if I find it super interesting, we'll do it. Even when we launched our course, that is the Food Tech Masterclass course, that was an experiment. That's absolutely an experiment, and now we have a running revenue stream because of that experiment, and we enabled that overnight, literally. So
nice.
Yes, so that's how that's how crazy that team is.
Yeah, sir. So my next question will be about Redon. That how did you market the Redon brand as a news company or a single news company? And was it organic marketing or you did some paid promotions and also?
It has always been organic. I can't say 100% organic because I love experimenting, and I saw that on Instagram you can do some paid advertisements, etc. So I paid, and I just did 100 rupees ka marketing on one post just to try it out. But obviously I can't call myself 100% organic, so we are 99.999% organic. That 0.001% will always remain. But yes, in essence, we don't spend anything on marketing now, right? It's all organic. And on the course that we have launched, we are thinking of doing paid advertisement, affiliate marketing, etc. But that's only on the product side of things. We don't do anything on the user acquisition side. It's completely organic. And word of mouth. People like you who are on the WhatsApp, they are more than happy to spread the word and share whatever we create.
Yeah, just to rewind back a little bit, you were speaking about a direct contact with the users through the medium of WhatsApp. Actually, first time I used it, even I felt like I'm talking to a friend, and a friend staying in some other state or somewhere else is sending a random message like a good morning, hi and all. And he's sharing some informative news every day, and we can learn from that friend. And that was actually very... I think that's a good strategy to for client retention. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I read somewhere that whenever you're not trying to have a marketing strategy and just delighting your users, that's when you create a marketing strategy.
Yeah, exactly, sir.
Nobody told us to do it on WhatsApp. It is from an operational perspective, it's a pain. It's an absolute pain to do it on WhatsApp. To send it to everybody every day. You don't have it like on email. You have those automation tools, etc. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have that on WhatsApp because on WhatsApp business that you were talking about, you have those only for transactional messages, not for promotional. Right? So that is where just doing things that don't scale matters. Right? Just be obsessed with your consumers.
So, do you think doing this in WhatsApp is sustainable for a longer period of time? Because if many clients, you hire many clients or you get many clients and everyone starts messaging in that, so how can you manage and what's your idea for it, sir?
Absolutely. Yeah. So scalability of WhatsApp is something that I obsess about. That is a question a burning question for me that I've been trying to solve. We've been talking to a couple of players to figure out if we can do this, automate this somehow. Till now, there haven't been many solutions that are viable for us in terms of cost plus scale. So even if they give us that scale, they are charging like 2 lakh bucks a day. That's absolutely not possible. Right? So, but I think as this matures, as this space matures, as more people come into it, start doing it, solutions will also start coming into it, and the solutions will come at a cheaper rate. If you see even the email marketing tools that you have right today that are so cheap, earlier they used to be 100x costly when email marketing was not a thing. Right? As more and more adoption happens, these prices come down, and we are, I think, hoping that those come down. Otherwise, we are still comfortable with a 10x growth from here as well. We have those backups ready to manage a even 10x engagement or 10x growth in the number of subscribers that we have. That won't be a problem. After that, the problem will start arising.
So what's your plan for what's your planning for the revenue model of this? Because I think there are very few targets you can have for getting revenue from this, because you're directly targeting the customers in WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is free basically. So what's your revenue plan, if you can say that?
So I have always been somebody who would always, whenever we would get into meetings with whoever we were talking to, I would explain the business model and would leave out the revenue model.
Okay.
And till date, we follow that philosophy. Our users tell us what do they want from us, and we are capable enough to create that revenue model for them. So if they want us to do courses, we can do courses. If they want us to do financial investment advisory, we can do financial investment advisory. If they want us to do mutual fund advisory, fee-based advisory, we can do that. If they want us to do advertisements can be made live whenever you want to make it live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if they want us to have different types of courses, right? Us handpicking different types of courses and giving it to them. That okay, this is a course that we have seen, we've done, we've reviewed thoroughly, and you can also take this course. So today, users trust us,
Yes.
and that is the most important thing for us. So if you ask, ki revenue model kya hoga in the next 6 months also, no clue, absolutely, and no shame in admitting that I have no clue.
Yeah. Yes.
My user will tell me what to create. That's it.
Just like your marketing strategy.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I know that you mentor students at an academy. Can you just go through? Can you just share that with listeners, sir?
Sure. So I have always loved mentoring, right? Since my third year in my articleship, so when you're doing CA, you have a 3-year articleship period, right? In my first year of articleship, I had some bad experiences with the people who were mentoring me or who were my managers basically. Okay. And I realized the kind of impact that these people have on your confidence, on your personality, personal development, etc. It took me 6 months to recover from that.
Okay.
So that is where I felt that, because I felt that pain, I truly believe that nobody else should go through that, right? And not just in their articleship journey, but in their entire CPT, CA Foundation, CA Inter and CA Final journey. Whatever problems they have, they should have at least somebody guiding them. Because if you look at IIM Ahmedabad, IIMs of the world, right, and IITs, they have a very vibrant alumni, right? And they have those programs where you talk to the alumni. They have focus groups. Some alumni people come in, talk to the seniors, get your questions resolved, or just ask somebody about some things that you want to ask them about. That is missing in the CA space. So that's why I joined Unacademy as well. I am the first iconic CA mentor, and I've always loved building things up. Since I was a very small child, I've always loved building something up from scratch. That really excites me. So I was trying to help them out, and I'm still trying to help them out in getting their whole mentoring program. And now I think there are 4 or 5 mentors, and it's going smooth. My role is, as a mentor, to make sure that the kid who's studying is studying in the most efficient manner, right? Studying the right things in the right, not just doing classes for that spoon feeding wala jo system hota hai, right? Not just doing that spoon feeding wala things, but also trying to learn something incremental. Seeing their curiosity through. So you will always have a lot of people who are very, very curious, but they don't see their curiosity through. That is when mentor comes into the picture, helps them, holds their hand, and takes them through that bridge, basically. So yes.
And I think I have read it just a couple of days back in an article that in Oxford or Harvard, I'm not sure, our Indian education system, they have a case study of our education system, and they named it as a factory model education system, because because due to the imperialism of British in India, our education system was like dramatically changed, and it was like only to tutor students, only to obey orders from their higher officials.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. There is no two hoots about this assessment from the US officials or wherever this research happened. And I would be happy if you can share that report with me. I love reading these reports. And absolutely, I agree to this fact. And so in December 2019, I took this journey called Jagriti Yatra, where 500 social entrepreneurs get on a train and travel 8,000 kilometers across the country.
Okay.
And we travel across 12 different states, and we meet people from all of these states, from villages, from smaller towns, and we interact with them, trying to understand what are the larger problems, right? And when you go, when I was talking to a lot of people in some of these places, there was this particular place that we were at, I think 31st December or 1st January, वो न्यू ईयर का टाइम मुझको याद है कि न्यू ईयर्स आने वाला था या जस्ट गया था. We were talking to a bunch of girls, and I just randomly asked them that what do you want to become when you grow up, right? That's the question that you generally ask a kid when you see that easiest conversation icebreaker with them, right?
Yeah.
So many of them said nurse. Now there's no problem in becoming a nurse, right? It's a noble profession.
Yeah.
But nobody even had the aspiration to become a doctor. That is something that bothered me. That maybe we are somehow our education systems, the entire way it is structured, is curtailing their dreams.
Yes, obviously.
Systematically, nobody would have told them to say nurse, not doctor.
Yeah.
But they are not. They don't have the confidence to go after something bigger. That is something that has bothered me for a very, very long time, and that is why the focus of Read-On is also on. So there are a lot of different aspects to financial literacy, right? We talk about financial awareness, but there is this whole financial education side of it, that financial aptitude side of it, where you need to give these people some bit of education around how to manage money, etc., etc. Because it has a direct correlation to women empowerment.
Yes.
If you think about it, financial literacy is directly correlated to women empowerment. The more financially literate your female population will be, right, the better their allocation of finances will be, the more better their decisions in life will be, and the more empowered they will be. That is also one of the things that we focus on. We did a free financial freedom workshop for 25 women, where I personally did this for 12 days, 15 days workshop, I think. And it was a completely experiential learning kind of a thing, because I don't think just giving out presentations will help anybody, right? You need to make them do stuff, then that knowledge remains. But absolutely, and we in India, the education system does not celebrate cognitive diversity.
Yes.
Asking questions is frowned upon, not encouraged, right?
Yes.
And I think if we can just solve for these small things, right, we'll be much ahead of where we are. Not structurally changing everything at once, because that cannot happen. That's a generational problem. That will take a generation to happen. But at least changing these few things. So whenever I talk to my siblings who are very small or something, I tell them ask questions, and whichever teacher tells you to not ask questions, घर पे बताना कि कौन सी टीचर ने बोला. We will go and talk to them. If child not ask questions, their whole job is to ask questions. Your job is to answer questions, right? So I think once we start celebrating cognitive diversity, these changes will start coming.
Yeah, so actually, basically, I'm an engineer graduate, and engineering blood is in my veins. And I think personally, engineering colleges, they undermine your capacity of thinking differently, because and I think with this edtech scenario in the country, Byju's, Unacademy, White Hat Junior, and many companies are getting big every day. Each day they are growing like hell. And also, I think me personally, college learning, and if you compare college learning and with YouTube, I personally learned more from YouTube when compared to college.
True.
Basically, everything what I know now, I have learned from YouTube and Google's. So by Googling it. And college, they teach more traditional, and in labs and all, they have equipments which are not only equipments but technology also, which is not available in the current market. For example, if they take a multimeter, they will teach how the multimeter in the college will be like this big, and now it's just this much. So I think there must be some changes, and that factory model article should be changed into some new thing. I mean, the education system.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, even if you want to create a factory, please create a factory of creative people, right? Don't create a factory of people who can only do mundane jobs. because China has
Mm.
already mastered that space, right? And
Mm.
US is mastering the creativity space. So where will we?
Mm.
And we have a huge population to cater to. It's not a small
Yes.
population that we have, right?
Obviously. Yeah. So, yeah. And can you tell me something about your experience in Swiggy? Because it has got a tremendous growth in recent years. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've seen that growth happening, to be honest.
mm,
I
yeah.
was in Swiggy when it was in 17 cities,
Okay.
and within 9 months we expanded to 500 cities, more than 500 cities, and I was a part of
Mm,
that growth. For context, HULs of the world, Britannias of the world took hundreds of years to achieve that, right?
yes.
To do
Mm,
that within a time frame with the minimum human capital that you have. Capital is
mm,
not a problem, human capital becomes a problem.
mm,
That was absolutely mind blowing. And most of my learnings of how to run your own organization, how to do your own startup,
mm,
different things, different projects that I worked on have
mm,
really, really helped me in applying those lessons to Read On as well. So my
mm,
role was that of an in-house management consultant, right?
mm,
Uh, the job was to basically pick up the largest problems
mm,
that the organization was bothered about, the high risk
mm,
problems that were there in the organization, and try to
mm,
figure out the best way to solve for those problems. They could be
mm,
anything from difficulties in onboarding delivery partners to seeing whether restaurants, whether we were getting enough commissions from the restaurants,
mm,
um, to how do you solve for the fraud engine, right? There are a lot of
mm,
frauds that happen on these platforms. So how do
mm,
you solve for that? So
mm,
I work with the operations team, that is the delivery logistics. I work with the restaurant supply chain team. I work with the customer experience team, which is the
mm,
user experience side of things.
mm,
Then I worked with the performance marketing team, where I learned everything about digital marketing, etc.
mm,
And I worked with the expansion team
mm,
and some other miscellaneous projects. So it was like 4 months projects with all of these different teams, and
yeah.
talking to the leaders, right? Understanding their
Yeah.
perspective, and then going to the people who are executing that job and
Mm,
understanding how they are interpreting the vision of the leaders.
mm,
You will find there itself there is a huge gap,
mm,
right?
yes.
And getting
Mm,
that perspective, how do you solve for it? How does that
mm,
trickle down to the lowest rung of the organization, to the middle management, to the top management as well?
mm.
That was really, really interesting. And I think whatever I am today and I'm able to do today, that is because of the lessons from Swiggy. Absolutely.
Okay. And I think working in a startup also makes you know more about a company because you do everything A to Z. Like recently in Instagram, I follow Radhakrishnan Pillai. Basically, yeah, have you heard of him?
I've heard of him. I can't place him because some intern was also talking about this.
Yeah, so actually, what he says is he had said it in many occasions. He said that a founder must be a P2P of his company, that is peon to president.
Absolutely. So in Hindi we say this, जो जो गद्दी में बैठता है उसे
हाँ.
चंडी पाठ से जूता पॉलिश सब खुद.
Ah,
So Chandi part is basically puja part. Say
yeah.
Juta Polish
Yes.
have to do everything themselves. So absolutely true.
Mm.
The most boring, most menial tasks to taking
Yeah.
strategy calls, strategic decisions, talking to the to other founders out there, to business leaders who have had years and years of experience more than you to talk to them. You have to do everything. There is no.
Mm.
You have to be a generalist. Sometimes you're a lawyer, sometimes you're a accountant, sometimes you're a marketing person, sometimes you are.
Okay, so actually, in my previous podcast, in every podcast mostly I ask this question at the last. You prefer to be a specialist or to be a generalist? So now I will ask now. Yeah.
You won't need to ask me that, right? I think you got the gist of it. But
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely generalist, and I tell you why that's important. Every person needs to know how to sell, right?
Yes.
Skill has to be developed. How and by sell, I don't mean that selling a product kind of.
Yeah.
Thing. How do you talk to a person in a way that they're convinced by the thoughts that you have?
Selling yourself? Do you mean that?
That would be a crude way of putting it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But having a conversation that does not feel like a debate. I think that's very important for people to learn. How to have discussions rather than debates.
Yeah.
And that is one. Number two, whenever you have some bit of cognitive diversity, right? Whenever you connect 2 to 3 different dots together, right? You automatically become a person who can have a lot of different types of conversations with a lot of different types of people. And if you can have a lot of different types of conversations, your opportunities increase exponentially, right? Plus, I think at the end of the day, a generalist is like a hyper problem solver. You give them a problem, they'll just start solving it. Just try and solve for it. Just like I'm just trying to think of how can this, noise cancellation thing work out in this. So that just kicks in. That problem solving thing. That okay, which platform would have this thing, this feature.
Yeah.
So, and I think it makes you absolutely curious, right?
Obviously, yes. Yeah.
So there's no two hoots about which one would I choose. Absolutely a generalist, a die-hard generalist.
Yeah, and I think if with a college student's perspective, if you learn a skill or two, you may not need that skill in your current days of college or in the work, but it may help you in long term. Like just now you spoke about like connecting the dots, and I read many articles, and a person, I can't remember exactly, he told that you can only connect dots backwards, seeing backwards.
Steve Jobs.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so that's what you don't know. If you have a confusion of doing a skill, like learning a skill, you don't know when it will happen or when it will be needed the most in your life. So just learning things which are curious to yourself will be more of useful than being a specialist or specializing in just one skill. Maybe I think that is also useful, but not up to an extent.
Yes. So from my personal perspective, I am a generalist, pure generalist. What I recommend people in colleges or in schools even to do is specialize in one sphere which you absolutely love. Say you love mathematics a lot, you love finance a lot, you love economics a lot, engineering, physics, chemistry, whatever. Specialize in that. There's no harm in specialization, but make sure that you're cognitively diverse. What that means is you understand some bit of the other skills too, right? You are a jack of all of those trades too, correct?
Yeah.
And making sure that you take them through experiential learning, because as you said, right, you can watch videos on YouTube on how to do a podcast, but when you are actually executing it, you realize 10 different things that go wrong, and then you try and solve for them. So that's an absolutely different type of learning altogether, right?
Yeah.
Take on internships. Don't bother about how much is the other person going to pay, if they are going to pay at all or not. Don't bother about that. If it is something, and if it is a place where you can learn out of, absolutely go there. And ask so many stupid questions, bother them so much that they're like, "Kyun hai tu mere organization?" But do that. Be besharam, absolutely be besharam.
I think because of this education system from childhood itself, that only kills this curiosity in students, I believe.
Absolutely. I think only some bit of the rebellious students that are left out still keep that curious streak. I can get that sense. I got
yeah.
Same here. And I think they retain that curiosity streak. But otherwise, in most majority of the population, that gets killed away, which is a very, very sad thing. Schools should teach us how to learn, not what to learn. Right? So
yeah. So speaking of that specialist and generalist question, my first podcast was with Devansh Lakhani. He is also a chartered accountant and he runs his own company called Lakhani Finserv. When I asked him about specialization or generalist, he told you have to be a specialist in being a generalist. Yeah. So
nice way of putting it. Nice.
Yeah. And apart from this, what tips can you give to college students? If a college student is he want to have his own company, he want to do something of his own, what tips especially you would give?
Absolutely. So there are some of the things that we take for granted, which is not so. You have to learn how to work with people. You have to learn how to work with people who are smarter than you, and this is especially for the top rankers in schools, colleges, etc. Right? I usually find them having a lot of trouble with working with people who are maybe more intelligent than them or even lesser intelligent than them. Right? So learn how to work with people. Take on as many random internships as you can as they come your way. even so, say you are doing an engineering degree or a finance degree, CA, etc., and simultaneously you're passionate about, say, music or photography or something like that. Make sure you're doing that every day too. Just half an hour, just 15 minutes, 30 minutes, even just if you're just talking about something who's passionate about that space, that's also enough. Just don't let that go. Plus, what I find in a lot of college students is that they have a lot of enthusiasm, energy, and time. I wish I had as much time as they have. I mean, I'm jealous of the time that they have. So, just make sure that whatever ideas you get in your head, a lot of ideas out there, right? Execute them at least for some period of time, say 3 months, 4 months. See your ideas through. Just try and execute those ideas. Don't just keep thinking about them, right? Try them out in the real world. If it fails, it fails. Don't bother about it. You don't even need to tell 30 people, different people about it. Just try it out on your own. And if it succeeds, it succeeds. If it fails, it's a lesson, right? So absolutely, I think I would have given that advice to myself when I was younger. I tried to do a lot of different things. I started an event management company. I started a food catering company. I started a on-demand library. I used to sell cakes and gift cards. I have done a lot of different things, and every bit was absolutely fun. I have not made a lot of money in any of them, right? None of them, but brilliant learning experiences and brilliant relationships forged out, right?
And do you think every one of the person or student can have that mindset of being a entrepreneur or a founder of a company, or many are they are satisfied with their jobs? Do you think it is a wrong mentality, or is it okay to be like that?
It has two perspectives to it, right? One is that okay, everybody is made for a job or can become a founder of a company, etc. And there is one practical aspect to it which boils down to your financial independence. Does your family depend on you to earn an income for them? If yes, then what is the level of job security that you need? A founder has zero job security. The company can go bust tomorrow. Can your family take that? If you have a family, etc., etc. And are you financially independent to be able to meet some bit of your expenses if you are a founder, say, some bit of your expenses without earning anything? So when I started out, I did not have a lot of capital to spare. Right? I come from a very humble background. I knew I needed to build some bit of capital, some bit of get that financial independence, so that at least I could meet my regular expenses and nobody could depend on me, right? And then I could take this plunge that I have taken. So you have to be very practical about it. From a perspective of can somebody or do or not do something, there is this concept called neuroplasticity, which says that every human can learn anything and everything that is out there. Every human is capable to learn anything. So at the end of the day, being a founder is also a form of, you can say, art, right?
Yeah.
Some bit of science, some bit of art. You can learn that. That will come with experience. And with our own times, I think everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody thinks of how do you utilize your time, how do you spend your time where. Everybody is taking those decisions. So at the end of the day, everybody is a bit of an entrepreneur and a bit of a job person also. Everybody has both of these things. So you shouldn't look at them in terms of plain, I'm only made out for a job or I'm only made out to lead companies. That's not the right way to look at it. The better way would be financial security lens. That okay, there are people dependent on me, I can't take that kind of a risk. So that's where trying it out during your college days makes more sense, because nobody is dependent on you at that point in time.
Yes.
Nobody cares if you fail 2-3 times. That's okay. Don't fail your exams, but fail in your science as much as you want to, right?
Yes. So, I think that not only in college but after college also you can try, because you have got for say 50 years of your life ahead of you, so you can just try and fail at early stage itself. I think so. What's your take on it?
Absolutely. Absolutely right. So my personal perspective was I wanted some bit of capital to feel safe. That's it. So I cleaned up a lot of money and I said, "ठीक है, इतना save कर लिया है. Now I don't need to keep going after more promotions, etc., etc. I'll do something of my own. I try it out for n number of years. If it successful, it's successful. I'm not married, I don't have kids, I have absolutely very, very limited responsibilities, and those are also not something that my parents bother me much about. So it's
Okay.
chill.
Hmm.
So, absolutely. And if somebody has that privilege of not caring about money, come from privileged background, they should absolutely go all in their own days of life, right? There's and I think there is so much of halo created, right, around some of these professions. Even as engineers, you would see them going to B schools and then going to management consulting, and then
Yes.
getting frustrated after 2 years, getting absolutely depressed after 2 years. What's the point?
Yes.
Try
Just
something.
following what everyone follows.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
Just try and not fall into that herd mentality. I know it's easier said than done,
Yeah.
but try and avoid that, and try and do out whatever you're super passionate about. Or even sometimes what happens is people get frustrated that they can't find their passion,
Exactly.
but you can find somebody else that energizes you, right? So at Reebok we have people who haven't found their passion yet, because we keep doing this every month. We ask people, "Acha passion mila kya? Ya passion kya hai?" We keep having those conversations in house. So there are a lot of people who haven't found their passion, but they align to what we are doing, and somehow that becomes their passion. So it doesn't have to always come from within you. It can be a borrowed passion too. You just have to feel energetic or enthusiastic about waking up and doing that. That's it. That's a very, very simple mental model.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Actually, it was very insightful, and it was very. It was a fun conversation to talk to you, sir. It was very knowledgeable, and hope we can do many other podcasts with you, because we have not covered your CA side of yourself. So I think that could be another whole lot of podcasts, because many chartered accountant students would love to hear from you with your experience.
Sure, absolutely. I loved it, Lokesh. I absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed this, and all the best with whatever you're doing. Ping me up whenever you want me. I'll be back.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir.
Super.